Hello, my name is Vincent Feeney. I am the author of Zen and the Art of Resistance Training, a yogic and scientific approach for weight training. I started exercising years ago, well, since I was a little kid. Then I started Hatha Yoga when I was 12. Did it for about 2 years, meditating and self-hypnosis. I was intrigued with Hatha Yoga for the alleged mystical states that some people arrive at and the ability to increase your flexibility and suppleness and so forth. And basically, I was not only that I wanted to reach the alleged transcendental states, mystical states, I wanted to have control over my body processes, the way people learn from biofeedback, the way a lot of the fakirs learn to control pain and their body movements. Now, the one thing that I have also done is I've done lots of research. Besides, I got into weightlifting at 14 on my own. And actually, I got into it from the advice of a Jimmy Yacovetti, a guy who was on the wrestling team with me when I was in my freshman year. I started lifting weights to enhance my strength for wrestling and so forth. Had no desire to get big. Wanted to stay skinny, and I wanted to look like Mr. Frank Zane. Now, this is a picture of him that I years ago and felt was a perfect Tarzanian all-around athletic body, which he does have. He's able to do a variety of different sports, not just some big lumbering guy who could just only, lift a lot of weight and be big. He's a multi-athlete. Does many different things, biking and so forth. He's very smart. All his books are just incredibly great. He's got a degrees in psychology, philosophy, and math, and he's also a teacher. He used to be a teacher, high school teacher, taught some college, if you want to understand. But he's only one of two people in the world who've beaten Schwarzenegger, and he was on a comeback trail before he got injured, and I think he would have beat Schwarzenegger for the second time around. Both of them come back. He sent me this picture. When I wrote this book, and I was formatting this book, there's a chapter specifically that I devoted with him in mind because of his symmetry. And anyways, I sent him an email. I said, Mr. Zane, I've loved all your books. I love your stuff, and you're one of my favorite athletes. I wrote a 600-page manual that's a compendium to many of the other stuff that's out there, to you and Mr. Pearl and so forth. And it's not about really so much bodybuilding as it is strength and so forth, performance, and deals with many of the things that you're interested in, like the biofeedback, mind-body, and Eastern meditative practices to enhance everything you do. So I said, could I please use your picture? I had to ask permission to use his picture. I couldn't just throw his picture in the book and sell it. So he said, he sends me back an email. Nice guy. He said, I really don't like to attach my name or just give pictures and give permission for anything unless I just really don't, basically I really don't like to do it unless it's really good, and I had to approve it first. And just send me the manuscript. And I said, well, Mr. Zane, it's a 600-page manuscript. And let me send you what I can, and what and whatever. And so, after he basically said, okay. An hour later, he emails me back, where's your physical address so I could send you the picture for your book? It's great. He liked what he saw. And Dave Draper, the same thing. He's a former Mr. Universe. Mr. Zane is a former everything, Universe, Olympia. Olympia is the highest. They take several of the best Mr. Universes, previous years. You got to rate really high to even enter the Olympia. The Olympia is the pinnacle of bodybuilding contest. And as I said, Zane is rated as the top. He's top of symmetry and so forth of all time. And this is one of the guys. He's a predecessor to Zane. Insofar as he was a Mr. Universe. He was in before they had the Olympia, and he was in movies, Don't Make Waves with Tony Curtis, so forth. Really nice guy, and he gave me permission to use his picture. And since I published this book, quite a few other bodybuilders who I won't name right now, world famous Mr. Olympians, Mr. Universes, and also some the Mr. International guys. So I'm going to plug another book I really like. Plugging other people throughout the book, even though I look at the strengths and weaknesses of some people's works. There are other books that I plug throughout, and it's not like I'm working out a deal with them. They didn't ask me to do that. They liked my book, but basically I just feel when something's good, you plug it. Now, instead of looking like those guys, I looked like that, and I was about 42 at the time, 40 to 42. I looked like that before I got in a car accident. Anyways, I'm on the comeback trail. I'm going on 56 and hoping to look like that again. I'm getting close. I'm getting close. I got to lose some weight, though. Anyways, that's this book, and so working on. I'm gonna close up for a second here. Just I'm gonna pause. Okay, we're back again, and basically, I just wanted to get to this one section of the book. This is like chapter 17. Okay, chapter 17. Chapter 17 is we talk about body types, and when I talk about body types, I want to talk about I'm gonna put it up here, and that's chapter 17, just so you got to make it firmly in your mind. Okay, we have whoops. I had to push this down a bit. Anyways, this is chapter 17, and we think it's important to okay, chapter 17. I talk about body types, and there are three basic body types that most people are concerned about. There's ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. Some people have never heard these terms, surprisingly, unless, of course, they've been in anatomy physiology. I don't even know if they use them anymore in anatomy physiology so much, because most people are a mixed type. But the pure ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph are basically like this. The endomorph, mesomorph, the ectomorph is usually those guys like, basketball players. A lot of them would qualify as an ectomorph. They're, although not so much nowadays, they're tall, thin, long limbs. Generally, basketball players are not built like. There's very few people built like you and me who are 7 foot tall. I know a couple people who are built like average people. They're just big. But most basketball players and ectomorphs have like inordinately long limbs, arms and legs, compared to the trunk of their body. And that's not always true, though. But they more in fact, though, they tend to put on fat. They almost never put on fat. Eat as much as they want. They have trouble putting on muscle, supposedly, at least according to the old workouts. The way people used to work at it, the ectomorphs have very high energy, supposedly. A true ectomorph, some of the ones I know tend to have narrow shoulders and so forth, and just straight builds. Mesomorph are people with naturally broad shoulder girdles, sometimes medium hips, sometimes maybe a little bit broad. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger's a mesomorph. When he started, broad shoulders, kind of a little slightly big in the hips. Limbs are shorter compared to an ectomorph. They tend to put on muscle very easy, tend to be muscular naturally, and they may even have an easier time putting on fat than ectomorphs. But they put on muscle fairly easy. Then you have endomorphs. They tend to be rounder, big hips. They may have broad shoulders, may not. They tend to have like regular sized limbs, not real long limbed. This is the standard. We're talking about the standard, and they put on fat very easy. Some of them put on muscle, but also pretty well. But they also put on fat, outstripping the amount of muscle they put on very, very easy. They tend to really love food. I just have a hard time putting on fat. Some of them tend to be sluggish. Now, we're talking about pure forms. The fact is, most people are a mixture of 2 or 3 of the forms. Like me, I tend to be a meso-ecto. I have long arms, although actually I'm not. But that's due to injury to my leg bones, because I have short legs. I have short thighs only, and so I tend to be on the short side. But I mean, I didn't put on muscle. I was insofar as when I first started, I didn't put muscular size on easy, no matter what I did initially, and I could eat it as much as I wanted, and I'm high energy, and I did have a little bit of strength, but as I went on, I changed my body. That's the thing about this: you can change your body. Deepak Chopra, Dr. Deepak Chopra, written many, many good books. Google him. He calls the ectomorph Pitta, the mesomorph Vata, and the endomorph Kapha, and he basically is dealing with the Indian type of medicine that he deals with. So his books are great. Read his books. He talks about the type of therapy and what he believes they should eat to keep everything in balance. Ayurvedic medicine. That's what he deals with. He's you know, he got a degree in endocrinology. He's a high-level endocrinologist. So he mixes Western medicine with this Ayurvedic medicine. And when you talk about leverages, ectomorphs tend to have poor leverages, longer arms, and so forth when it comes to bench pressing, and they tend to be at a disadvantage. For instance, let's see if I can do this. I'm not that good of a drawer, but oh, okay. I'm gonna try to get okay. No, it's not right. Okay, I'm gonna put this down here. See if I could. I see. I already chose my page. So, anyways, talk about leverages. Leverages have to do with the length of the arms. You know, the forearm to the upper arm, lower leg to the lower to the upper leg, and also let's see. Still learning this program, guys. Anyways, I'll get back with the leverages. They have long arms, you know, like I have long arms, short legs. So the leverages of my legs, I'm going to try to show them. Look at the mouse. Let's say that my thigh is this long and my lower leg's that long, but my thigh is this long. So when I go to squat under parallel, it's just a little, you know, up and down from full to this. If you got long legs, you have to go wham. You know, the angle is greater. The angle of the movement is greater. Puts people at a disadvantage. But there are ways of training to overcome that. And for those guys out there say, I can't do this or that, or I can't bench as much because I have long limbs, and they think they're weak, they are not weak. They may actually be producing far more muscular force than a stumpy powerlifter with short arms and legs. They just can't lift as much weight, but because of the distance and angle, they're producing far more muscular strength. Now, I'd rather wrestle this the dumpy, stumpy powerlifter with short arms and legs, you know, who benches a lot of weight and squats a lot of weight, than the big, tall guy who doesn't demonstrate his strength in the actual weight, but generates more muscular force. Plus, guys have longer limbs. The advantage they have is that they have more momentum. A guy with longer limbs is going to be a better javelin thrower, usually. I mean, you could compensate, and that's the whole thing about lifting weights, is it's a great equalizer. And so that's what I kind of want to talk about. But yeah, so leverages, like you know, in the world of sports, coaches love to talk about physical attributes of any given athlete, and leverages fall into this category. Coaches often say that the athlete's leverages are great for that sport or this sport, terrible, but blah, blah, blah. And, you know, fact is, Fred Hatfield had great leverages. He was like maybe 5'6" when the wind was hitting him. And he had weighing 255, he squatted 1,014. Anyways, it's one of those things that you could overcome. You can overcome, okay? Now, for instance, I've managed to bench well over 400. I really got close to 500 at 181. I got extremely long arms, poor leverages for the bench, but I managed to make up for it. And Louis Simmons produced world champions by teaching them how to make the most of their leverages, whether they have optimal leverages or not. Anyways, I'm closing up for now. We'll talk to you next time, and chapter 19. All right, bye-bye.